I want to talk today about the levels of leverage, particularly for social media, but any channel. So, good morning. Hope you are all well and you are seeing me here. I'm popping up on all the different channels, so I'll just jump in and say hello. So, just bear with me a second, make sure it's all working and everybody can see me. Good morning, everybody. Say hello in the chat so I don't feel like I'm on my lonesome. I can see some of you are joining on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, which is awesome. I want to talk this morning about the levels of leverage and actually how um, they can bite you in the ass as well. Good morning, everybody. Hope Tuesday is looking good for you. Whoever's joining, wherever you are, I've been coming a little bit later this week because I've struggled to get up. So I normally get up about 5 in the morning, do a little bits and pieces, and then come live about 7. But I've been doing a bit later because I've decided I'm not going to get up at 5 for a little while. So, yes. So, levels of leverage. I'm sure you'll be aware of, or many of you will be aware of the whole Andrew Tate saga. And his provocation of people with some very unpleasant content, shall we say, or some of the messages he's put out through content he's produced has not been necessarily very helpful and been very derogatory towards women. But I want to talk about the different levels of leverage because there are 5, and for most people, they're probably pursuing the wrong one. So I'll just talk you through the different levels, and do say hello in the chat if you're watching. The first level of leverage is effectively cold. So the cold outreach, basically leveraging the ability to send messages, but no real depth of relationship. So it's you see this a lot on LinkedIn, you see it a lot on Instagram, you see it a lot on Facebook. People just pitching you. We call it connect and pitch. That is kind of the lowest level of leverage that you can do, and you can keep doing that and keep doing that. And ultimately, you have to continually do the same process over and over and over again to benefit from the platform. And actually, at the moment on Facebook, I'm being hounded by one particular company who's got maybe 25 virtual assistants just basically connecting with anybody and pitching anybody. And I'm getting 4, 5 pitches from this company every week. So the scale means you have to pitch more and more people to grow. So that's the cold element, what we call commodity, where it's just, I've got this, I'm going to put it out to the market. If the market wants it, the market wants it. If the market doesn't, the market doesn't. So that's your kind of commodity element. So that's the lowest level. I could say there's a level below that, actually. There's a level below that of doing nothing. So there are some people, even today, who are going, actually, I'm not even doing cold, I'm doing nothing. So cold is basically, it's a cycle you run through, repeat to scale. You need more messages. So that's the first level. The second one is the social level. So if you're looking to get business from social media, any channel, there's the social element where you network effectively. You go deep with people and build relationships. And that then you're almost leveraging the kind of power of referrals, and you're leveraging people or know well. So that's the second way. So cold, nothing, 0, cold, social. Then we come to the expert level. Now, the expert level is not you're an expert at social media, but it's where you're leveraging the power of the crowd to build relationships. So you're using the crowd to build relationships and then taking the crowd into a process where they become a client. So that's the expert level. Now, I'd say most businesses can operate in that space. Salespeople, business owners, people who don't want to hard sell, but also are not, a massive thought leader or big social media influencer. This is the place you should be building out. It's the place where you can actually make the most impact. It's the place where you can actually achieve some results. Good morning, Bradley. Good morning. I don't know why, Bradley, but I'm looking on my live feed and I can't see your comment, but I'm seeing it here. I see it now. So the expert level is where you're kind of, I'm not an influencer, but I'm also not having to leverage my network by being very hands-on with it. In other words, getting to know every single person. So that's the expert level. Good morning, Iman. Then we have the thought leader. The thought leader. Now, the thought leader leverages the network more, but actually benefits from industry-wide recognition. So in other words, they've got recognition from their colleagues. So you can see people in this space who do very, very well, but they're not like mega stars, but they are well known for particular topics and recognized in their industry. So that's the thought leader stage. That means you need to build a much bigger audience. It's not about relationships at all then. It's about your knowledge, being expert and seen as a thought leader. And I'll explain the difference between a thought leader and an expert. An expert knows enough and has sufficient expertise to add value to their audience. Thought leaders have sufficient expertise to be recognized by their industry as a leader too. So that's how they built their platform. They built their platform by being recognized as a leader in their industry. And that's how they built their platform. So cold, level one. Level 2 is social. Level 3 is expert, which most business owners who don't want to hard sell people should be there, because you build a crowd and convert them to clients. Thought leader is industry recognition that gives you a platform. More thanks, Bradley. Then you have influencer. Now, influencer has built such a sufficient audience, they are effectively celebrity status. And so they can post something up and say, go buy something. They don't know any of their people personally. There's no personal interaction at all. This is one of the most toughest positions to get into, because it costs you a lot of money to get there. There's a lot of work to get there, and there's no guarantee you'll get there. And I shouldn't say this in this day and age, but there's a certain aesthetic probably that has to be complied with as well. So when you're looking at those 5 different levels across every channel, by the way, every channel, you've got the picture, you've got the social, the one who engages and builds a community. But the limitation of the social level is your ability to maintain those relationships. Very difficult to scale a business where it's built on the power of your relationships. And so you get stuck because you run out of either time, or you run out of network or energy, or all of those stuff, or it becomes just all consuming. So expert level is where you're leveraging the power of a crowd, and depending on the size of your business, that crowd might be 200 people, but you're leveraging the crowd and leveraging you as an asset to build that audience. So people have a relationship that's not strictly social. You don't know everybody personally, but you have a warm relationship with people, and you leverage that to build a crowd, and you leverage it to convert those into clients. Thought leader, way different, different process. There's a lot of industry recognition that you need to leverage that platform. And then influencer. And if you're at the cold level, you may go, do you know what? I need a better way, because I'm burning a lot of leads to get the sales. And that's just the nature of how it works. You have to kind of just plow through to get to hit the numbers. You have to do numbers to get numbers. Social is all about the depth. So you've got shallow volume, so it's like quantity, quality, and then you've got the kind of almost hybrid of that, which is the expert, which is a quantity with some quality of relationship. So that's the hybrid before you start to move into your kind of thought leader and influencer. And I just want to say, by the way, just whilst we're talking about I mentioned Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate's business model has been and is to basically get to that influencer status. And he's been very clever about how he's done it, albeit in the UK, I think it's illegal what he's done, but because it's not based in the UK and it's on social media, it's very difficult to do anything about. But effectively what he did was he built a business model whereby you buy his course or subscribe to his course for $50 a month. As part of that course, you learn various information products about how to make money. But one of the priority ways to make money is to download content of Andrew Tate's, promote it on social media, particularly the provocative stuff, the stuff that will make people angry or get people upset. Morning, David. Particularly the stuff that will get people upset or angry or provoke, because we know when you provoke people, they engage, they rant about it, they share it, it becomes a discussion point. So some of the more toxic stuff that he said has done the best, because that's how things work. When a car accident happens, everybody slows down and pays attention. But when everybody's driving wonderfully nice and safe, nobody gives anything. So he leveraged provocation and controversy to build to the content. You buy his course, it's $50 a month. And then one of the prominent ways to make money is to promote his course. So in the UK, that's called a Ponzi scheme. Now, apparently overnight or over the last couple of days, he's taken this money-making opportunity with him down, and Stripe has, morning, Anne. Stripe has terminated their relationship with him as a result. But this is how, and you have to be prepared if you want to pursue that influencer model. The quickest and easiest way to do it these days is to provoke people. If you spark up controversy, if you spark it up, you provoke people, you say something provocative, it gets you a lot of attention. And we've seen this on LinkedIn more recently with people, doing sad posts and stuff like this. And it's intentional. It is an intentional way to build a crowd. Now, they, at this point, are not concerned primarily about leveraging that crowd, but in the way that they think of, they're leveraging it for the mass appeal to get to that influencer status. Because once you get to that point, you can start to sell other things. But for the vast majority of people, that would destroy your business. So there's a couple of people on there who've done this, and they're baiting people basically. And he did exactly the same thing. He baited people with very provocative content. A percentage of people, and here's the thing, a percentage of people will buy into it. Yeah. So if I go out and say some really horrible things and record them into videos and put them up on social media, play the game of not going across the line in terms of getting it took down, but close to the line that it will get out there, people will share it, people will talk about it. And what happens is I get traction from that. I attract a following. And Andrew Tate, I'm sure, a lot of what he says, some of what he says is very good common sense, and some of it's crazy made up crap, and some of it is toxic. Now, the problem is he's using the toxic elements to get the attention and the traction. And then the other bits, the middle of the road bits, are just, good advice or interesting points. But what happens is he ends up leveraging an audience who agree with him with some of his more toxic points. And so what happens is you build an audience who think like that. And if you look at all of the influencers, a lot of the influencers, they build, by influencers, I mean people who haven't done anything else other than something on social media, or haven't really, they built their platform. Like if you're a musician and you're on social media, you gain a following because they appreciate your music. But some of the people on social media, nobody really knows why they're there. They've done something relatively minor. You know, he was on Big Brother and he'd been in kickboxing or whatever it was. But in the scheme of things, relatively minor stuff in the world, on the world stage, to have amassed 15 or 11 billion hashtag uses. So basically, the controversy is the thing that makes the thing move. But if you do that and you're not prepared to go all the way to the top with it, you will lose everything, because it will repel people as well. There will be people who absolutely despise you. And there's always been this principle of, if you can polarize an audience, you win. The problem is, if you polarize an audience, and look at how this has happened in history, look through all of history, when you polarize a group of people, eventually you end up it falls in on itself. Yeah, it literally falls in on itself. So we'll yet to see what happens with Trump, but obviously he's polarized an audience. Now, if he gets another term, he will go, actually, I polarized a big enough audience that I've actually won what I want. But if he does not, he may go to jail. Because think about it, he's being investigated right now. If he wins the presidency, he can cancel his own investigation. Andrew Tate made a lot of money, huge amount of money, but actually he's now facing the position where the platforms themselves have turned on him, and he will have the inability to make any money as his identity without fake profiles or constantly battling to try and get his name and voice out there. So that there is this point where if you push the provocation to get to influence status too far, it can actually eliminate your ability to become an influencer. So I've seen loads of people go, I want to be an influencer, but they don't really know why. They don't have a message to tell. And so provocation is an easy win. I'll just provoke people. I'll say some crazy shit. I'll get some media coverage and I'll rinse the thing. It's like going to a casino, really, and putting it all on one color. I've never been to a casino. Well, I have once or twice, but don't get it properly. But it's like putting, I'll put everything on black. Yeah. And hoping the chips come in. The expert stage is where somebody should be, where they're not kind of cold pitching any people anymore, and they're not kind of being everybody's friend on social media. They're actually mixing the two together. And so they're building a level of relationship, but they're also leveraging outreach as well in a careful way. No sales pitch, no hard sell. And they're actually blending those two methods together and getting somewhere. And the beauty of that is you don't have to be the world's foremost expert. You don't have to be the biggest influencer. You don't need to be have the biggest crowd. You just have to have a crowd of people big enough to support your business that have bought into you. So that could be 200 people. That could be 10 people. It could be 1,000 people. It depends what you need, but that's the simplest place to occupy the expert position. We call it the expert in demands position, where it's basically I'm leveraging a crowd. I'm balancing outreach and relationship together. So I'm not cold pitching people. I'm not hard selling people, but I'm also not being everybody's friend. I'm doing the two together to be that create that space where I'm the expert in demand. I've got enough pipeline, enough of an audience that supports the revenue I need to achieve. And I don't need to be in every industry magazine. I don't need to be the number one this. I don't need to be the Forbes under 30. I don't need to be the Inc. 1000. And It's actually the most comfortable space for people who perhaps don't want to sell, feel uncomfortable selling, but feel confident in what they do. That's really the space you should be in. Because obviously the cold thing is very much a salesperson's thing. The social thing is very much a relationship or a networker's kind of thing. But the expert bit is where you can kind of do the two together, kind of merge the two together. Thought leader, you need a lot more traction in your own industry. That's something, that's a long-term game. If you get there, then great. But actually that expert place is really comfortable. I quite like that space. I think it's good. I don't have to get stressed about how many followers I've got this week or all that kind of stuff. It's a real great space to be in. So the bottom of the rung is obviously doing nothing, which is crazy in this day and age. Number one is the cold, which is a lot of salespeople are there. Number two is the social, where it's all about depth of relationship. Expert, where it's actually the hybrid of the first two. Thought leader, where it's gaining the recognition of your industry to build a platform. Tougher gig and much more out of your control. And then finally, the influencer, where you're leveraging a mass audience, which obviously, you have to throw a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of energy, or you provoke the crap out of people to the point where it just goes up. And we've seen, and you've seen that doing that provocateur element, both on LinkedIn, if you've seen LinkedIn over the last few months, there's some people who are literally, what's the word? Playing the provocateur, but then almost denying that they're playing the provocateur, claiming, innocence, or they didn't realize. And it's like, really? The provocateur is it's the easiest way to get a ton of an audience. The problem is, you have to do stuff sometimes that you don't even agree with. You're just doing it for the sake of doing it. The thought process for me of, do you know what? I'm going to come in, I'm going to do something. What can I do tomorrow that'll rile a load of people? Because it's actually the angry people that give it legs. Morning, Thanos. It's the angry people that give it legs. That's the bit that's really messed up about the provocateur. It's the people who you upset that actually help you get the most traction. And I've seen people saying, the best thing that happened to me was haters, because they come on my posts and they disagree with me, they get angry with me, they get upset with me, and actually they propel the content further. I just think, I don't want to do that. Why would I choose to deliberately divide people? Why would I choose to want to do that? There's lots of things I think about and I have views on that other people would disagree with me, but they're not life or death things. But sometimes what happens is people will make non-divisive issues divisive because it suits their purpose. And if you want to be an influencer and you don't have a moment of 15 minutes of fame because you've had a boyfriend who's famous, a girlfriend who's famous, or been in a film, or been in the news for something newsworthy, you have to become famous for being famous, which means you have to provoke. You have to cause division. You have to go into the Katie Price School of Celebrity, basically, to get there. And I'm not sure in the long run it works out anyway, because at some point your audience who's against you will win. The audience who's against you will eventually win. You see this time and time again. You look through all of history, the audience that are against you eventually wins. When you decide to divide people, when you decide to polarize people, it always eventually bites you in the ass. And you can walk that line and go, oh, I'm coming back from it. But if you cross it, it's done. So for me, If you're in the cold camp, you should be moving up, not necessarily social, because you'll find that draining because it's a lot of work. That's the downside, is the cold is not a lot of work, and you just, find the needle in the haystack. The social is a lot of work, but you obviously get more benefit from what you're doing. So the hybrid of that is the expert in demand, where you're building relationships with a crowd of people, getting to know them like this, going live, talking to people, getting to know people, having chats. Yesterday, telling Thanos he has an absolutely awesome name. Seeing you guys there, that's the kind of expert piece. You getting to know me through video, me expressing my personality, me not being stiff corporate. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. I'm just being me. So some people will buy into me, some people won't. I share value. So hopefully some people will say I'll stick around and some people won't. That's the expert piece. Thought leader piece. Oh my God, you have to have your best A game in terms of like insight pieces all the freaking time. An influencer, you got to provoke people to get there. You got to provoke people to get there, or you got to go viral. Yeah. And again, that's as unpredictable as you think, as it sounds. You can have times when you go viral and times when you're not. And the one of the funny ones is, obviously I'm building out my TikTok at the moment. And I see on TikTok, and there's some people who've had like 500,000 views, and it's them doing, yeah. And then the next video is, let me tell you how you can grow your business, and it's 300. It's like, okay, we love your dancing, mate, but we don't kind of like your business message. Why? Well, I could look a fool. I can go and be a fool on TikTok and get traction. Can be the comedy. But when you try to pivot to actually what you really want to do, I think that's why a lot of celebrities are deeply unhappy, is sometimes they do something and it makes them a lot of money. They get a lot of notoriety for it. And then actually what they really want to do, they can't do anymore because nobody cares. You see this a lot where people go into stuff like, oh, an actor or actress has been really popular in TV or something. And then they go, you know what, I really want to make music, and it kind of flops. It's because people have got to know them for one thing, and that's why they've invested into them. And that, in some senses, that's the essence of personal branding. It is typecasting yourself into a particular thing. So it's better for me to be me than try and do all this stuff that basically in the long run, I won't want to do. I won't want to sustain. I won't want to keep doing, because it will bore me. Basically, I'll be, a lot of people do this. I want to become an influencer so that I can do something else. And it's like, no. What do you really want to do? Just pursue that, go after that. Because I found invariably what happens is you try and pursue something as a kind of stepping stone, and you end up stuck on the stepping stone. And that's not a nice place to be if you were only doing it, if you were sucking it up just to get there. Well, that expert position, I think, is brilliant, because you can be yourself. People buy into you for you. You can do it your way. You can, yes, there's algorithms and all that kind of stuff to play with, but it's about building your mini fan base. Build a little mini fan base who believe in you, trust you, have got to know you, albeit virtually and not in person and not one-to-one very often, but they've got to know you because you're you. And then you can leverage that out and say, look, I'm doing this. If you're interested, if it's something you want to do, come join me. And the sales bit is just so much easier. There's nothing worse than trying to sell somebody, especially if you're not comfortable doing sales. If you're a diehard salesperson and you live for the sales process, go for it. But I would much rather build that expert positioning, build out that crowd who kind of like me, kind of got to know me, trust me. And I say, look, I can help you grow your business through our accelerator program. If you're interested, drop me a line. That's more comfortable to me. Or if you want to do it, schedule a call with me. We'll talk about it. That's a much easier place to be. Now, I am simplifying it a little bit there, but this provocateur thing, don't go down it. You don't need to be an influencer to build a business on social media. You don't need it, but you do have to kind of have to pick your camp. Where am I going to do? Because the business models for each of those levels is different. The business model, the operating is totally different. The cold pitcher, it's not about relationships. I've just got to get volumes of messages out and get them. And if they're not converting, tweak the message. Yeah. And welcome. You're welcome. Social, I've just got to network, deep network, and then leverage that network because people know me, they trust me, and I've done it one-to-one. Expert is one to many, but not thousands or millions. One to many. Build the relationship by being yourself, offering value, doing all that stuff. Thought leader, getting the recognition. It's not really about a relationship. It's about respect. And influence, it's about reach. It's about the fact that you've provoked people, you've polarized, you've built a big tribe, which is obviously a hell of a lot of work. And yeah, so that's my thought this morning. I hope you're all good. Hope I've not bored you and put you to sleep. And if I have, I'll shut up in a minute and you can wake up and go to work. Look, guys, really appreciate it. Want to know what your thoughts are on some of this stuff. So do drop me a line, comment on my posts and tell me what you think. And, you know, disagree with me, agree with me. Let me know what you think in the comments. Have a good day. Have a good Tuesday. I don't know, Tuesday. Have a good